So on the mainland, major factories are being put up in Otakawan. They've allocated 1,500 acres. The biggest issue now is that there is a problem in handing over the plots, the industrial plots, by PDC to those people who want to buy, who want to set up. Because earth filling is a very slow process, Otakawan is basically quite swampy, and you need time for consolidation of the land. So there has been delay. People are waiting to come in, but people can't get in because infrastructure, earth filling needs to be ready. So you can see that demand is, the demand is there, it's piling up, but it will take time. So you know that the best is yet to come because we are not seeing the full effect at the moment. Okay, on a macro scale, interest rates will continue to remain low, foreseeably for the next 2 to 3 years globally. I think locally also it's going to be very much the same. And then we have a very flush monetary system, which will encourage people like ourselves. A lot of you don't need to work already or not working, that's why you're here today. So I think a lot of you probably itching to put your money to use. So there will be competition for where your money will go. The banks obviously are paying you too little. And then you will look at property as one segment to put your money to work. So on the island, we have to deal with land scarcity, we have to deal with rising prices. Landowners are asking, previously they asked next year's price for their land today, but today they're asking prices 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead. We are wondering, how do you make money when you buy land with those kind of prices? But basically, landowners are asking for the sky now. In fact, they've gone past the atmosphere, probably in another galaxy now. It's just gone way too high. But you see, everybody knows that we are in a land scarce situation. So high land costs are not going to allow developers to build, number one, much landed housing. Number two, we can't afford to build cheaply because the basic building material you start up with is already so expensive, so price so high. So the trend of course is to build high-rise and high prices. And the other thing that developers have to contend with is that compliance costs have escalated. We have to deal with new rezoning costs. We have rezoning to deal with. Previously, yes, you have to rezone, but you don't have to pay so much. Now you have to pay more. And you have conversion fees. The formula is still the same, but because land prices go up, your conversion fees also go up because they are related. We take a percentage of the land value as what we need to pay for your conversion costs. Development charges have basically tripled in the last 3 years. And all these things are pressure, cost pressures for developers. And guess what? Doctors, you serve the government, you come back here to work, you serve 3 years, you're a free man. You come back as an engineer, you can go and practice and do your own thing. You come back as a lecturer, you set up your own private college, university, whatever. You don't do subsidized education. Doctors, you serve the government for 3 years. If you want to do anything extra, that's up to you. You're not forced to do cheap operations. But guess what? Developers, we have to build cheap houses. That never ends. Every housing project we do beyond a certain size, we have to comply with low cost or low medium cost housing. I've always argued that people who collect our taxes, who collects your taxes? It's not the state. The state don't collect your income taxes. The people who collect our taxes, they build schools, because that's their job. They build hospitals because that's their job. But when it comes to affordable housing, that's not their job. It becomes our job, developers' job. And guess what? Developers are not Santa Claus. I don't look like Santa Claus. I don't see the developers here look like Santa Claus. And guess what? Because we are not Santa Claus, all the costs of bearing this affordable housing goes to people like you. You end up paying for the affordable housing. Whereas you pay income tax, we also pay income tax. Our taxes should be used to provide affordable housing. Same thing as you do for education, same thing as you do for healthcare. So right now the state, Penang, has, because somebody wrote that developers are the darling of the chief minister. Because we are such a darling of the chief minister, the state now imposes a $120,000 levy for every low-cost or low-medium-cost house that you are required to build, and you don't build. Wow, to be the darling of developers. And we get this kind of treatment. So, to that writer, I said, get your facts right. Listen to my second part. I will address all these things about the chief minister being our darling. Darlings don't treat their loved ones this way. Give you this type of levy. And this never happens anywhere else in Malaysia. Elsewhere, other states, actually the low-cost requirement has been reduced. And it's taken over finally, in some measures, by the federal government. The Minister of Housing was here this morning and he was talking about the prima housing and PBRT, where we talked about renting out to the hardcore poor. That's something that should have been done a long time ago. Okay, construction costs are not going to get lower. I think Dr. Finn had talked about it. It can't get lower. Not because I want it to get higher, but the reality is it can't get lower. The government has been talking about GST for many years now. It's a matter of time. Okay, energy costs. TNB is making noise about them not having enough gas. Petronas is complaining about them having to sell gas to TNB below market rates. Guess what? After elections, bingo, everything is going to go up. Electricity is going to go up, and when electricity goes up, it impacts everyone. From your char kway teow guy, you will say, hey, you are using gas, not electricity, but his char kway teow is manufactured. Using electricity, using machines. The place that is renting, the shop house, the coffee house, has electricity bills to pay. So, costs are going to go up post-elections if they are not already. And then the compliance for foreign labor, that as well will have knock-on effects and everything else. So construction costs based on labor, based on raw material, based on energy, it's all going to move upwards, not downwards. Okay, as a summary of the outlook, well, I will say that the attraction of Penang property is basically that it's safe, it's rewarding, and it's a yielding asset. People follow jobs. People just follow jobs. Why is there population growth? Finn alluded to it. More urbanization of population. Gradually, you will see greater and greater urbanizations, basically because jobs are in the city. Now we see that, I've talked about the industrial expansion on the mainland. You see that there's a tight tight job market at the moment. So if job creation is there, people are going to come to Penang, or people will stay back in Penang to work. And the population projection for the state is going to be about 2 million people by the year 2020. What's the population of the state currently? Anyone from the floor? Let's see how accurate you guys are. 1.5. Anyone else? 1.6. Anyone else?
You're talking about legal or illegal?
Okay, legally it's between 1.5 to 1.6. The illegals, I don't know. You know, they're quite a number.
They also need housing.
Okay, so we are looking at about 1.5, 1.6 million people currently. Year 2020, another 8 years to go, 2 million. That's about 400,000 people, you know, roughly. 400,000 people, assuming 4 to a home, which I think is actually being quite generous. I don't think we actually plan 4 to a home. Assuming 4 to a home, 400,000 people, so you need another 100,000 homes from now until 2020. Roughly over 8 years, 12,000 homes a year. The industry in Penang is not able to build that kind of number every year. The numbers are there because you look at the transactions, like I quoted you, we are not able to build those kind of numbers year on year. There was a bit of pent-up, 2011, yes, a lot of building happened. This year, next year, we're not so sure. And you know, approvals are getting tougher and tougher. So, in short, the outlook is still very good. Target segment, if we want to, below 1 million, I think the demand will be very strong. For landed, below 2 million. On the mainland, anything below 500,000, I think the demand will still be very strong. So that's the first part of my talk, and that's on the outlook. If you want to hear more on what I have to say on the industry,